good morning and welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios here in downtown Colombo. And joining me this morning, as usual, is Bandula Jayasekara, journalist, former diplomat. You served in Australia, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And good morning.
Morning, fellas.
Nice to see you here. You, of course, get here earlier than I do.
Yeah, definitely, 4 in the morning.
And also we have the former governor of the Central Province, Tikiri Kobekadu, with us this morning. Good morning and welcome to our
very
network.
good morning, Faraz. Good morning.
Good to see you. So I'm surrounded by two Trinitians here this morning. Makes life very difficult, you know.
Oh.
Shall we deal with the most important matter today, which is that this is probably the first day since Sri Lanka will have to do without Kumar Sangakkara. The end of a fine innings for Kumar Sangakkara, a real national hero and national treasure.
Went to Trinity.
He went to Trinity. Well, here we go. 134 tests, 12,400 runs, at an average of 57.4 and 38 centuries, apart from 404 one-day internationals. But rather like Sir Donald Bradman, acknowledged to be the world's greatest batsman, Kumar unfortunately didn't go out with a bang. He managed just 18 runs. Donald Bradman, of course, finished with a duck. 4 more runs, and in his final test he would have had an average of 100. Sad day for cricket Sri Lanka.
And the whole world. I mean, he became a good ambassador not only for Sri Lanka, for us, but for cricket.
Indeed.
In the world, you know. So that's really what was good. And he was, I think, one of the cricketers who could really speak very well.
And we must remember his address in 2011 to the MCC Spirit of Cricket Cowdrey lecture.
Definitely. Yeah.
His openness and his outspokenness landed him in a little bit of trouble, but only here.
Definitely.
Globally, he was accepted.
That's always the case.
Indeed. I hope that Mr. Kumar Sangakkara, former cricketer, will find his way to Maitland Crescent and make his contribution to administration of the game.
And plus, for us, he has another role to play. Last week he was appointed by the president as the ambassador for this National Dangerous Drug Control Board, that he will have a different role to play. Indeed. To reach out to the people.
Indeed. Perhaps we should get him on our show.
Definitely.
Carry forward our drug-free policy.
And that's that's important. The message, he can really convey this message to the younger generation.
Mr. Kobekadu, what do you think? Today is the day that Ranil Wickremesinghe will start his new journey. And the 19th Amendment, are we keeping this in mind, the limitations and the numbers of ministers one can have under the 19th Amendment?
There is a clause in the 19th Amendment where it says a national government could have more than 30 ministers. So we have had a long history where several ministers were there. I think there were 101 ministers at one time. Mm-hmm. So to reduce the number of ministries or the ministers, the expectations of the parliamentarians is going to be quite difficult. So most probably the Honourable Prime Minister will have a huge task of satisfying all the people, all the members of Parliament, the senior guys at that. So most probably they will go for a national government. They have already said so, to satisfy some of the aspirations of some of the parliamentarians, senior parliamentarians. Because once you are in power or you gain power as a minister, it's going to be very difficult for some of them not to have it.
I see. But really, Bandula, one can't call this a national government as envisaged in section 46(4) of the 19th Amendment, because broadly speaking, I think the 19th Amendment looks forward to a truly national government that encompasses all the parties. It doesn't use the word all, it says the political parties. But this coalition that they have entered into is only with a segment of the SLFP.
Yeah, segment and then UNP and SLFP, like Tikri was saying, it is, for their, looks like it's for their satisfaction.
And it's a very odd sort of situation, because you're going to have some members joining Mr. Wickremesinghe on the 1st of September to form what they call a national government. We disagree with that, because, I disagree with it, because, again, the 19th Amendment doesn't seem to have been met, the spirit of it. So, here we have it's a sort of a muddle-headed approach right from the beginning, because you have only part of them joining the UNP, and then their party is going to sit in the opposition as well.
And looks like the people will be taken for a ride again.
Indeed.
The people, it should be the people's, there's no mandate from the people.
It doesn't augur well for a start.
Yeah, definitely, but they could also say for us, okay, you have people like, Champika, they are from JHU, then they'll say people like Digambaram, they could say, no, they are all joined from, even though they contested under UNP. They might say that.
They may do, but in my mind, we seem to have forgotten this all-inclusive ambience that the 19th Amendment seeks in such a coalition or as a national government, because the TNA aren't there.
But TNA says that they are supporting, but they will not be included, but they are supporting.
So they're going to be like the third umpire.
Looks like, yeah.
There but not seen.
Yeah, and we'll have to play the role of the match referee.
Yes, we'll do that. I'm sure it's a role we will both enjoy. Also, we're told that this morning the FCID are going to be welcoming Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa to help with their inquiries.
But for us, FCID or the Presidential Commission? I read in the newspapers.
Is it the Presidential Commission? Oh, so he's going there now.
Yeah, that's what I read in the newspapers today.
I see. So, a good indication that things aren't going to go down, but they're going to maintain this momentum.
Yeah, we had a discussion with you with Lasil, and then this is, I could see the Presidential Commission.
The frustration is that nothing seems to be going anywhere. There's a lot of talk, but there's no walk.
We are dilly-dallying, and but I would say, like, it's not only, my point is, why only the so-called opponents, you should have everybody. Now see, maybe certain people who crossed over with President Sirisena, maybe they also have everything. So let's see how it happens. Let's be fair by everybody. Just because you cross over to the ruling party, that doesn't mean that you come all clear.
True. So, Mr. Kabekado, what do you do in? Is your role in politics over?
Not really. Actually, politics is something it's just a word. It's working for the people or looking after the welfare of the people.
Right.
So I continue some of the work which I started as governor, especially in the area of education.
Right.
I felicitate some of the high flyers in education in a small area, not in the total province. Then I look after some of the health areas also of the people.
Right.
So I do a little bit of social work which is not actually active politics, to satisfy myself that I'm doing something for the society or for the people.
But it is the foundation of politics, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Service of the people.
Tigri, have you left the SLFP? You are still part of the SLFP.
I became a member of the SLFP in 1982, and still I'm a card-holding member, but not active as such after I became governor, because I had to be an impartial.
What are your independent views on what is happening at the SLFP then?
I think I wonder whether you have read a book written by the famous Apollinaire de Silva. He actually saw this happening long years ago when the presidential system was introduced, and he predicted that a president who becomes the leader of the party, once he goes out of office or loses, in this case, that there will be commotion within the party. And it has happened in the history. If you look at when former President J.R. Jayawardena retired, the UNP broke into pieces. When President Premadasa was killed, then the UNP again broke into pieces. When former President Chandrika Kumaratunga left after two terms.
Yeah.
Again the party went into pieces. A few people were dissatisfied and they joined the UMP.
But one Mahinda Rajapaksa managed to hold the party together.
Yeah, but after the January 8th results,
yeah.
You see what happened to the SLP. SLP is now into a bit of a mess.
It's been blasted into pieces, has it? So who's responsible for that?
Oh, the system itself. Once
it's a systemic fault, is it?
System itself, because once the executive president of the country becomes the president of the party,
yeah.
Right? He holds such a lot of power which he brings into the party itself. And the party is forced into doing things which at times wouldn't be in their conscious, members of the party.
The former Prime Minister and senior party man, Ratnasiri Vikramanayake, yesterday in Purana, he said that it is the leadership that was at fault. Do you agree?
Agree and disagree both.
Right.
The leader will always show the way, but then the followers should also realize whether the leader is giving the correct leadership. Right?
But isn't there a confusion for us here now? Okay, Maithripala Sirisena, who was the secretary of the party, leaves to contest against his own party. Then he becomes the president. Then it's handed over to him and he accepts it. So there is a confusion. He challenges his own party, then he becomes. So there is a confusion there. And then you have all these the people who opposed him are like then supporting him. Don't you think the confusion started there?
Yeah, you are very right, Bandula, because the moment he left the party and contested as the common candidate, there were a lot of heartburn within the party, and there were people who were actually believed that it was the correct thing for him to do because he was not treated properly in the party itself. So there were two camps which eventually, but then as I said before, the executive powers of the president of this country is always higher than any other power. So most probably the SLP wanted him to come back and lead the party with his executive powers of the country and move the party forward, which I think is going to be a massive challenge for him. I think from the presidents who were elected down history, I think the current president has the biggest challenge ever for a president of this country. To keep the party together and move forward with his aspirations of Yahapalane. So it's going to be a massive, huge task for him. And it's only in 2001 that the former president Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga was the president and the UMP had the Prime Minister and the cabinet. Now it's going to be something like that. From January 8th there was a UMP cabinet which was mixed with part of the SLP members, but here again when the Prime Minister is UMP and the President is from the other party, it's going to be
accepting of course that in this government we have a scenario where Ranil Wickremesinghe can carry on in the secure knowledge that the President isn't going to pull the rug from under his feet when he's abroad or whatever it is, like Mrs. Kumaratunga did, because of course under the new amendment
4 years,
the
President they can't dissolve Parliament.
That's right.
But there again they have to agree not to disagree in the next few years, because for the sake of this country, the country has to move forward, and for the sake of the people, for the betterment of the people, and also the aspirations of the younger generation is such that they wanted a change, and that change has to be really, really seen by the people.
Is your role in politics being missed by your party? Because I noticed that in Yatinura, where you were the organizer, this time round the UNP made huge gain there. They're missing you?
Not really, because UMP won by only 4,200 votes.
It's a big gain.
But if you compare the other electorates, where a lot of work had been done by the sitting candidates of the UPFA, Yatinuvara is predominantly a single Buddhist area. We have only about 3,000 Muslim votes, about 1,200 Tamil votes, but the rest are all single Buddhist. But as I said earlier, the younger generation, the younger voters went into with the UMP because they wanted to change. After 20 years of UPFA.
Got a bit stale, didn't it? Is that, do you think, Bandula, do you think that there's a certain sense of myopia in Sri Lanka because people tend to forget about past successes and gains? Like in the case of former president, he won the war on terror. He initiated unprecedented levels of infrastructure work, which is still going on. And to a point in the way he left office, and even in this election, he's acted rather democratically.
Yeah, but for us, I agree that he has to be commended. We could never forget him. What he did, he brought peace to this country. But I think what went wrong there was, he wanted to contest the third term. I think a lot of people, even though that time the parliamentarians voted, people didn't like it. And also plus then he's coming back wanting to be an ordinary member of parliament. I think that's hurting people. Otherwise, the way, like you said, the way he left office on 9th of January was good. That's how you achieve greatness. But this is what I think dented his reputation. Not that people have forgotten him.
But there was also a sort of almost an indecent hurry to sort of lower him in the esteem of the people and the international community, because within hours, literally, he was being accused of having a coup and so on.
No, I agree, and that's wrong. I think that's definitely wrong. People have to be, we have to show gratitude. That's wrong. I agree with you.
And surely you worked there.
Yes.
I'm sure Temple Trees is replete with hundreds of CCTV cameras that are recording all the time. And surely if there was any real evidence of this so-called coup, it should have been put out by now.
Yeah, I agree, and that did boomerang on them. So that is wrong. So we have to have, what I've heard, that the Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is the one who invited the former president to for his swearing-in ceremony.
Right.
So that's good. That's people have to learn from their mistakes to have a consensus.
So
We've got to change.
That's right. I think there was a lot of humility on the part of the former president.
Yeah, definitely. This is the time to change it.
Yeah.
This is the time.
And, standing up when they come in and so on.
And I still think, I'm sure Tikiri, has been very close to him, and then I'm sure he still can achieve that greatness or regain it by his actions. What do you...
Yeah, he actually gained greatness with what was achieved in 2009, which even the international community said it's going to be an impossible task. So he is a person, a fighter who will take up any challenge, who will get what has to be done, and I'm sure he'll be among the people all the time because he's a people's leader. And
I noticed that you're wearing a little badge here of Sri Lanka. I don't know if they can see it on air, but there it is. Look, can you get that? And isn't that what most people need to do to be proud of what we are, rather than to be constantly criticizing?
Far as I think that comes from the primary education or the basic education in this country. Now, Bandula and I, we have gone to a school where we had friends of Muslims or Tamils and brothers and Christians and Hindus and Islam boys, and we kept that friendship together even after we left school, and we are so good friends even now. So we all think Sri Lanka, but then...
And also Tamil was taught as a third language, but later they stopped it. So that was wrong. that language.
So the education itself depends on how the society will look at each other.
So is this why we find it difficult to understand why it is that on the national list you find candidates who've been defeated by the people who the people didn't vote for, and now you find them on the national list, and so in essence they're being forced down the throats of the people?
For us, there were two items conveniently forgotten at the time of drafting the 19th Amendment. One was there, but then later on it was taken off, that you don't allow anyone to cross over after you are elected by the people,
right,
from one party to another.
But that's undemocratic.
Yeah.
But carry on. What's the...
So that was ignored in the 19th Amendment there, and this particular instance where a defeated candidate cannot be appointed as a nationalist MP. Now there is room in the constitution which says a defeated candidate can be appointed to the nationalist.
Yes.
So you're creeping through the
through the back door.
Loopholes in the
through the back door.
Yeah,
the system.
And then like during the Sinhala program, Tigri made a very interesting point where I asked how come SB Disanayak was defeated in Hangula and Keta.
Yeah.
Then he said, I mean, if I may, with your permission, he said that he got defeated because of his bad mouth, right? And then I asked him how he has entered parliament through national list. How come, So there's a people rejected him because of that, but now he's entering through the national list.
Which is back to our point, which we made during this election, that you must vote wisely. You must make yourself aware of these little nuances that go on, because they come back to haunt you, the people. And in certain instances, of course, the people have acted wisely and with knowledge, because we see various people who've been defeated and sent home, and who have not appeared and raised their heads, their muddied heads, through the national list. Whether it is correct to take them in is, of course, in my view, it's a complete ignoring of the most basic principles of democracy.
And the will of the people.
And the will of the people. The people have said, look, we don't want you. And yet some of these have found themselves on the national list. And they don't appear, in some cases, to have any other professional engagement that will put them on that national list.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you look at the newspapers, Roshi Senanak is trying to contest that. She said, there has to be a recount. She's contesting, she's challenging it.
So summing it up for us, I think, stemming from all these issues, I think we need to seriously look at the constitution itself. Right? It was done in 1982, right? And now today, a lot of loopholes have been seen in the constitution.
Yes, the practical.
And we have been, as you say, in a old vehicle you put quite catalloy paste and then cover it up with paint and then make it as it's a good vehicle. And that's the example I have with this constitution, which has a lot of loopholes, doesn't serve the people's mandate, as you said just now. I think seriously we have to look at the people themselves should agitate for a change in the constitution so that people's mandate will be respected, people's voice will be heard, and the votes of the people are taken to very seriously to the implementation.
But for us again, isn't it still party before the people? It's party.
Yes.
The people, where are the people? What's their mandate? It's always the party. The two-piece, but party before the people.
Well, as
MP, Parliament.
Well, as Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe starts his first proper day in office today, whilst we wish him all the very best, we must also ask him to bear in mind, and I'm sure he is aware, that he will be under the spotlight, and the opposition and the media, which is now free, will be holding him accountable every moment of the day. Isn't that the way it should be, Pandana?
Yeah, this is the way it should be. I agree.
There's no good sending some people who are lying to them abroad so that they'll keep their mouths closed.
So that would happen. That happened from the time of President Javadan. That will happen. But I agree that should change. Give the people who are good, whether irrespective of party lines, give them the opportunity when to represent the country. I mean, that's important.
Then why do we have elections then?
No, elections, then just because somebody loses, now I'll tell you, if I may speak of somebody like Rosie Senanaik, she represented the country very well in Malaysia, more than any other diplomat. We have to give her the credit. And she worked for the tea board, and she would represent the country anyway. And these are people who are far better than some of the foreign ministry people.
What about, can't we send Rosie to Canberra?
Canberra, we have Skanda Kumar in Canberra.
Is it? Yeah. Is he good?
Yeah, he is good. He's respected. There's nobody saying anything wrong about Skanda.
Yeah.
And as a former chairman of George Stewart, I
have worked with him actually.
But that's a good choice. That Rosie is asking for a recount.
Yeah, but again, some papers say that the commission has rejected it, but she says that she has the blessings of the Prime Minister also for the recount. But I hope there's be justice done to her and to many others who have doubts. We got to clear the doubts for us.
Don't you think we need Rosie in London? A key.
Because I think London is not a strange place to her, because when she worked for the tea board, let's remember, she worked for the tea board. She was in London, I'm sure, but then again the paper says she has said no to London.
I see. All right. Well, we better not talk about that too much, lest we be accused of being partial to Rosie. What do you think, Tikiri? What do you think is the main focus this government should do now that they're starting today?
We must continue with the development work which has been started, and we should not neglect some of the things which were commenced by the previous regime. There were things which were done without focus, but at the expense of people's money. Right? People are criticizing some of the huge projects like Mattala Airport or the Hambantota Port. Now, people's money have been put into it, or we have got loans and aid. Now, those things should be put into proper use. People's money should be used up profitably, not make the Mattala Airport a paddy store. Right?
No, let me on that note, let me ask both of you. Do you think they're going to go ahead properly, or do you think they're going to make a proper achar of it all? What do you think?
If you go back into the history of Sri Lanka, the coalitions have not been able to deliver the aspirations of the people the way it should have been done, because lots of people will be pulling to all kinds of sides, and I think the President and the Prime Minister has a major challenge in keeping them together as a team and focusing on what has to be done.
We'll wait and see. I mean, they haven't even appointed the cabinet. Yeah. So let's see whether they'll make a good acharu or a bad acharu. The time will tell.
It all depends on the leadership. Huh?
Yeah, but it's better not make acharu.
Talking about leadership, I think we might. I think we have. No, I think we have time now to finish. So. On that note, Mr. Tikiri Kubekadu, thank you very much for coming on our network.
Nice. It was nice having chat with you.
Thank you.
In the morning.
And Bandula, thank you very much for being part of this.
Thank you, Faraz.
And I'll see you again later this evening.
Yeah.
On that note, before I say have a good morning, let me say, talking about leadership and the Prime Minister who is about to start his work, he's probably already done so. Speed is one of the most important qualities of leadership. On that note, I'll wish you a very good morning. Thank you for watching Newsline and stay tuned.